started off, Mark and I were having a pint of Guinness and just wondering why spy movies have become so serious. What happened to the spy films that were fun? You know, we used to come out of a Bond movie or in like Flint and you pretend you got the gadgets, you'd repeat the lines, you'd play different roles with each other.
We were just chatting about Casino Royale and we were both saying it was a great movie and everything, but it was weird for an origin movie that it didn't quite give you Bond's origin. It'd been great to see Bond training and everything. And Matthew and I were just chatting about this and we were saying, yeah, that'd be really cool, you know.
There seems to be a hole in the market, so I watched all the old spy movies and I said, yeah, we can do it. We can write a postmodern love letter to spy films and make people have fun again when they see a spy movie.
And the story very, very gradually, I mean, it took us years because we talked about setting it in America and we talked about loads of different variations of this, and then eventually it came around to this.
Much like Kick-Ass, it was one of those ones that became a comic and a movie almost at the same time or in parallel. The DNA of the two is very, very close, but the movie is not a direct adaptation of the comic. It's very much, you know, there were other things that Matthew really wanted to include and stuff that Matthew had in his mind that he wanted me to kind of work towards in the script. So the way Valentine developed really came through conversations we had and how we wanted him to be.
You know, and the movie says it, you know, the Bond movies are only as good as the villain.
Tráilers.
And the villains that you remember from the Bond films, you know, they made sense. You know, Goldfinger made sense. You know, he was when there's a sense of reality and you relate to the villains and you start liking the villains, then it becomes far more complex. That you're sort of rooting for both sides for a bit until the villain oversteps the mark, and then you know, right, spy, go save the world.
You know, we were very influenced by coming from our experience on X-Men and having dealt with, you know, what a fascinating character Magneto is, and especially what a fascinating character he can be. You know, because we'd looked at, you know, what makes him do what he does, and I think it really made us stop and think about wanting to have adversaries with more depth.
My kind of welcome.
Jane, I think, is probably the best screenwriter in the entire business. So you know it's going to be great, and what's brilliant about Jane and Matthew as well, you know, because the two of them write together as well, it's going to be better than what you gave them.
I was absolutely gagging to read the comic, but Matthew was very keen that initially during the writing process that I go with his structure. So I read the comic later and I loved it. It was a real treat.
We made one huge change. In the book, it's Jack and the hoodie kid is his nephew. And I realised, I said, this is crazy. My Fair Lady, you know, imagine Rex Harrison, at the beginning of the movie, went, all right, Audrey, I came from the street as well, my little niece, and I'm going to turn you into me. You know what I mean? We did it. I've done it before. You're going, all right, well, where's the journey? Where's the art? So that's why, that was probably the biggest change I made. And then also the mass wedding, which turns into a mass slaughter. I was like, no one's going to watch a bunch of really nice people who are getting married suddenly hacking each other to pieces. I said, we got to get a church from Kentucky.
Matthew and Jane had a backstory to the organisation that I didn't do in the comic.
Come with me.
That was born from me having a suit made at my tailor's, which is the Huntsman, where it is, where we shot it. So that's a real place. It's a real tailor that did Queen Victoria, Ronald Reagan, David Bowie, everyone, anyone who's anyone. So I'm in Huntsman getting my suit made. And I got bored out of my brains standing there and they're measuring you and you're like, really? How big am I now? Oh, shit. And then you zone out and then I thought, what would happen if I put my hand on that mirror and something read it and the whole thing went down and there's another, because I'm thinking, my mind went off and then I was thinking about World War I and in England, virtually every family lost most of their kids. And I just thought, by default, there'd be all these very rich, powerful guys who all get the suits made at the same place, all know each other. It's a club without being a club. It's like a secret club. Who's your tailor? Oh, I'm a huntsman, you know, and it sort of tells you a lot about you. And I thought if they all got together and said, look, we've all lost our kids, we're all worth billions, we've got land, we've got power, the government let us down, this war was pointless. Let's be above bureaucracy. Let's use our money and we'll keep this shop as a front and we will become the ultimate defenders of humanity.
Arthur. Galahad.
Mark came up with the idea of this there is a machine that can emit a frequency that makes people go violent.
Oh, fuck! I've got a friend who put me in touch with someone at the university, and I sat with this guy and I said, like, if you had to kill 90% of the human race, how would you do it?
Jeez.
And his whole idea was to activate the R complex at the very base of the human brain and get your most territorial and most aggressive. And then it switches off, and within about 15 minutes, you've wiped out most of the planet, you know? And they've done it for each other.
I didn't expect it to be that effective.
What kind of response are we talking?
100%.
And I said, I don't know if that's true or not, but it's a good idea for a movie. And then we talked about the Gaia theory, which is that Earth is an organism and we're a virus living on the Earth, and the Earth is trying to save itself by getting rid of us.
This is great!
So I looked into that, and then I sort of got freaked out that there are more extinct species than there are living species on Earth right now.
We're making our planet thick. A coal is our only hope.
I went, okay, well this makes sense. Humanity really is screwing this planet up. The planet's been around a lot longer than humans, and I'm sure it's going to stay a lot longer, and we will probably get wiped out, and then it will continue, and then God knows, maybe the frogs or the rats will be ruling the planet. I don't know, but what I did know is a great idea for a villain to have a theory that makes sense.
Nobody told me to try and save the planet. I wanted to.
And that you sort of agree with, that politicians don't do jack shit for the, you know, politicians aren't really changing anything. The world's out of control, needs help. So he identified problems that need to be solved. His solution just isn't the right solution.
What the fuck's wrong with them?
I don't know. Could have something to do with the mass genocide.
It's exciting to be able to write characters that are as colorful, that are as complete and sort of filled out. All you really need to come in and do is, you know, dress them, find a way of making them speak and act, and you've fulfilled his dream. You know, even after you've read the graphic novel, what Matthew's done with it in his adaptation is extremely visual and just, you know, reading it. He has a way of imagining something and putting it on a page and allowing you to see it as well as he sees it, which is rare sometimes. Sometimes you have to kind of dig through the stuff to see what the writer's vision actually was, but it's pretty plain.
He takes the normal sort of run-of-the-mill spy thing that you've seen 1,000 times, and the moment you think you've got it, and you go, oh God, what's he doing? Boom. Everything is a surprise. Every single thing, the whole way along. I mean, there's a lot of stuff with that. I haven't got an enormous part in the picture, but I've read the script, of course, but there's unbelievable things that go on.
A lot of times you pick up a script, and by the time you get to page 15, you know what's going to happen on page 35, which leads you to page 70, which leads you to the end, and you might as well throw it away. Matthew is continually, you know, putting twists and turns in so that you do stay engaged and you stay interested.
There are all those fastidious moments that you recognize from those spy movies, coupled with kick-ass action, coupled with amazing sequences to do with skydiving, shooting satellites in orbit, biometric equipment that controls being able to blow people up.
Oh my God, that is fucking spectacular!
It's a kind of mix of all the best bits of the action and the spy
Visita
genre.
mi canal.
We never wanted it to be just a straight-ahead action film. I think Matthew's intention from the beginning was that it's a spy movie, it's also a Pygmalion story, it's a number of things, and I think Matthew and I worked very much on instinct on this one and just tried to feel what was right and what fitted.
This ain't that kind of movie, bruv.
I would say it's definitely very unconventional, Tone. We're both very keen to avoid any sense of parody.
I'll be right back.
I mean, and in that sense it was similar to Kick-Ass.
The hardest thing about making this movie was making sure there was a thin line between being a spoof, being a real movie, being funny, being silly, being gratuitous violence. It was, you know, it's a balancing act. All I said, it had to feel real, had to be entertaining, and had to make you smart.
Okay.